Dear citizens of the 10 Oecs member states, today we celebrate, by the grace of God, 36 years since the formation of the Organization of Eastern Caribbean States. Even as we give thanks for the many blessings and accomplishments, so must we equally acknowledge the several shortcomings and weaknesses of our efforts to date. In today's fast-paced world, small and vulnerable countries such as ours face an uphill and relentless battle against more powerful forces which conspire to keep us marginalized and at the bottom of the international food chain. The intensity of the global competition for advantage can sometimes lead us to seek individual and independent solutions, but the mathematical reality of the situation should compel us to work together, to fight together in order to win together. The aspiration to regional integration has been a long historical struggle, with shining moments of solidarity and with disappointing examples of fracture. Too often, our best emerges only when we are faced with the worst, and we are yet to understand that while adversity might provoke the spirit of resistance, it is the will to excel that will fuel the spirit of resilience. We take pride in the accomplishments that we have achieved, some of which have invisibly improved our daily lives. And let us take a minute to itemize some of these achievements. We now have in place the free movement of people, in which the citizens of the member states, with the exception of Martinique, which is part of the French state, can travel freely within the Oecs. We can move freely for short-term or long-term, for work or for pleasure, with nothing more required than a government-issued picture ID. The EC dollar, which is the currency of the Oecs, has been and continues to be a strong currency, holding a fixed exchange rate against the US dollar. In bigger and richer Caribbean sister countries, national currencies have fluctuated and mainly been on a downward spiral against the US dollar. This is an achievement that we take easily for granted, but those of us who have traveled to other parts of the Caribbean where the currency has floated freely would appreciate what the stability of our currency means to one's personal income and one's ability to feed, clothe, and care for one's family. You can also drive freely in any Oecs member state using your national driver's license. You do not need to get a Grenada's driver's license if you have one from St. Vincent or Antigua or Dominica or St. Kitts to drive legally in Grenada, for example. But there is a bigger aspiration. Imagine for a moment the day when you can drive your vehicle right onto a regional ferry, travel to the next island for the day, and drive off with your vehicle in that port. The Oecs countries buy medicines together, and we benefit from that pool procurement. 840 different medicinal products are bought each year, and we save about $5 million from buying in bulk. You may not realize it, but 90%, or 9 out of every 10 medicines that are prescribed in public health facilities are provided through this scheme called the Pharmaceutical Procurement Service. 550 of these medicines are listed by the World Health Organization as essential medicines that help us to live productive lives, even if we are affected by illnesses such as high blood pressure, diabetes, AIDS, and so on. In education, the Ministries of Education have been working more closely than ever before to implement the new education reform strategy. This involves a process of revamping and taking a harmonized approach with an initial focus on literacy and early learning to give our children a good head start. Our focus is on improving learning in the education system, and after all, that is what education is all about. What we call functional cooperation has been deepened and expanded, especially with the entry of Martinique, in areas which directly impact people-to-people contact. In health, we are expanding access to specialized health care, cooperation in the control of infectious diseases, etc. In tourism, community tourism is widening, and travel between the islands and the French territories has increased with greater involvement of our French cousins in festivals, day shopping, and short-stay vacations. The Oecs continues to play a leading role internationally in the struggle against climate change. With the assistance of USAID and other development partners, significant work has been done in most member states in the environmental sector. We continue to work together on land stabilization and water harvesting projects to keep homes, communities, and infrastructure safe from the effects of climate change. In agriculture, there is the beginning of a quiet revolution. Over the past year, we have put in place arrangements that involve 3 refrigerated boats traversing the Oecs and the wider Caribbean, exporting a range of fruits and vegetables, including squash, dasheen, and livestock within the Oecs, and between the Oecs and the Virgin Islands and Trinidad and Tobago. Getting to that stage has involved progressively improving our packaging, our post-harvest treatment, raising our phytosanitary standards, identifying the greatest value produce needed in the market, and forging new links with purchasers in Trinidad, Martinique, and lately the United States and Canada. In spite of these achievements, there are still issues which continue to annoy the average citizen. Ultimately, for regional integration to work, Caribbean people must have confidence in the process and must appreciate the ways in which it impacts in our daily lives for the better. Notwithstanding the progress that we have made, there are several things that continue to frustrate the pace of integration. We recognize these irritants and impediments and continue to work with the relevant governmental bodies in member states to address them. They include, for example, the bureaucratic requirements that make the free movement of people less easy than it should be. For example, the requirement of completing lengthy immigration paper forms on arrival in each member state. We will have gotten there when traveling from country to country is as hassle-free as traveling between towns within any member state. The many frustrations experienced on a daily basis with mobile and broadband is another irritant. In today's global economy, these information technologies are the backbone of the digital economy. They are no longer luxuries but necessities for survival and progress. In many advanced countries, access to quality internet service is now deemed a human right. We have been working closely with ECTEL to strengthen the regulatory authority to ensure that roaming is removed between Oecs member states, that number portability or the right to keep your number as a personal number, no matter which provider you switch to, is established, that there is no interference with the subscriber's right to use services such as Skype, WhatsApp, or any of the over-the-top services that enable people to make free internet calls and communicate easily with family and friends overseas, or which reduces a business's communications costs, and that the level and quality of service that you are paying for is what you are consistently getting. Another irritant is the high cost of travel within the region, and limited choices continue to be a source of frustration for the people of our region. And this constitutes the single biggest obstacle to Oecs integration, as it discourages the movement of people, goods, and services. Free movement is not only for the benefit of the public, but for the private sector as well, as goods and services are involved. The Oecs private sector needs to step up to the plate and help relieve Oecs governments of some of the burdens associated with the provision of regional transport. Air transportation across our region, with our challenges of size and population, cannot be solely a commercial proposition, but it is also a public good and a social necessity. As we enter the 36th year of aspiration towards a single social and economic space, The acceleration of effort is going to be our primary objective. There are many things we need to do which are best done together with the wider fraternity of CARICOM, and we will be seeking to forge closer and deeper collaboration to achieve them. In the immediate future, we will see some key initiatives brought to completion, and these include the Oecs Competition Commission, designed to protect consumer rights and guard against the negative impact of monopolies. The mapping of health infrastructure across the Oecs to create an inventory of health facilities and capacity in the Oecs space so that centers of excellence for specialist care can be established. Significant engagement with the youth that will culminate in the Oecs Youth Strategy that will give prominence to youth development initiatives. Only 3 weeks ago, we identified from a field of over 200 applicants the 30 under 30 entrepreneurs, 30 young persons under 30 years of age who are engaged in amazing entrepreneurial ventures. This group will receive special attention and support from our business development unit to realize their fullest potential. Work continues on the modernization of legislation pertaining to social justice, juvenile justice, child protection, to strengthen the most vulnerable sectors of our society. So what then is our responsibility as citizens of our national spaces and as members of the Oecs? Know your rights. Visit our webpage www.oecs.org and sign up to receive updates on developments in real time. Join us on Facebook and Twitter for updates. Our communications media is geared to respond to the frequently asked questions about how Oecs integration works. Secondly, educate your fellow citizens. Be a champion in your own community. Participate fully in the integration process by offering solutions to the gaps that you experience. We are listening, and we want you to join in this journey. Happy 36th anniversary.